And Heidi Prisbilla. She's the senior political reporter for USA Today. Hi again, Heidi. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
This whole we don't understand the delegates thing, we don't understand the rules of the convention and the Republican side, this is just politics, right? Everybody understands how this works, understood it from the beginning, right?
Right, and I think on the Democratic side, though, what's happening is that this was brewing for like months. Shep, if you remember, you go back to when Sanders just narrowly lost Iowa, and he carried New Hampshire by a big margin, and then his supporters looked at the delegate math and they said, huh? Hillary Clinton has a huge lead, including these superdelegates. So just the idea of the superdelegates kind of planted the seed from the beginning of a lot of his supporters thinking that this process was undemocratic. And frankly, I think it's bad for Clinton because, as you've pointed out, she is leading in terms of the earned math. She's leading in terms of the popular vote. She's leading in terms of the pledged delegates. And as we go into this critical race in New York, I think that might be the final kneecap in terms of the math on Sanders. But the problem is now you have this whole movement of people who have already said that 1/4 of them would never vote for her. And at the same time, this resentment is bubbling up over the superdelegates because I think it's just a confusing system. So let's just keep it simple and point out the fact that, you know, she still has a large lead in those, you know, the popular vote and the pledged delegates, and that the original intention of the superdelegates is really to just be an equalizer and reflect the will of the people. They didn't want, if you want to really just go back here in terms of history, another George McGovern, where you had like a real split kind of ticket and you had somebody winning the nomination who didn't actually win the popular Democratic vote.
So after New York next week, if Hillary Clinton wins, as she's expected to by a wide margin here in New York, is it your sense from inside the campaigns that the Sanders camp may try to tone some of this down and begin a unity process, or is that something for a later date?
I think things have gotten so bloody on the Democratic side as well this week, Shep, that I don't think that transition or that pivot, if it does have to happen, is going to necessarily happen soon. Sanders has said, and we take him at his word, that he's going to go all the way to the convention. And I think he has does have a good chance of muscling up in California, for example, regardless of what happens in New York and on the Eastern Seaboard. He's going to do real well in Oregon, states like that. So I think the more he can clean up, even if he does lose, gives him a platform and a voice into the future, and I think he has every incentive to do that.
Of course, I remember the same sort of bloody battle back when it was Obama and Clinton last time, and, you know, you're likable enough, Hillary, and then all of a sudden, you know, they're all best of friends, and she's the Secretary of State, and they're out there doing everything together. It's not as if this campaign stuff always stays the same. It just feels like at some point they'll stop this.
They will stop this, and I think what will also be critical is when the Republicans, it becomes clear who the nominee on the Republican side of the party is going to be, because obviously there are very strong feelings about Donald Trump, and I think even to some extent Ted Cruz. So even if Hillary Clinton does still have an enthusiasm gap, I hate using that word, but or a likability issue among the Democratic base, I think at the end of the day there'll be some time for those divisions to heal, and they'll be voting, a lot of these voters, more against the Republican nominee than necessarily for Hillary Clinton.
Heidi Prisbilla, the senior political reporter, USA Today. Great to see you. Thank you.
Great to see you, too.